All right, but we are ready to go here, so let's go ahead and jump into the game. Down at the bottom right-hand portion of Abyssal City, we have our blue Protoss player from the team Evil Geniuses, it's EG Huck RC. And his opponent here in the top left-hand corner is our red Zerg player, reigning GSL Codex champion, Startail Life.
This is going to be awesome, man. It's going to be so cool.
This is one of those matches that I just like to sit down and like pop back with some popcorn on the big screen and enjoy the day.
If you're a Zerg player, man, we're gonna like watch Life for you. Or at least I'm gonna try and watch Life, and like we'll learn from him, guys. We'll learn from him. If you're a Protoss player, we'll maybe learn from Huck a little bit less because I don't know Protoss as well.
All right, well, that's okay. So we'll report on his action. So yes, we saw things being formed across the screen. Double extractor trick there.
No, just one.
Well, I mean, yeah, he messed. That's I meant to imply. I apologize. Yeah.
Don't follow that exactly. But
that's right. So we don't. So Zerg players, we'll start off with that tip. Yes, don't mess up your extractor trick.
Even GSL champions mess up extractor tricks from time to time.
That's right. Everyone is human, if nothing else. Even if you're superhuman 16-year-old kid who wins GSLs. So
especially them.
Yes. As Life is a very young player and a Royal Rotor, there's a lot of comparisons you can make between Life and a lot of the great Brood War players too. He's actually won a championship earlier than Flash did, so he has that going to his credit a few months earlier. So this guy is a very, very well-developed player already at a young age, and a guy that we're going to see on the scene probably for 10 years.
I hope so. And he's taking a 15 pool here. It's not quite a 14 pool. I guess not quite isn't the right word, but it's not a 14 pool. And this is kind of showing that he wants to play slightly less aggressive with his firstlings in general. And Huck's kind of made a small mistake possibly here where he's letting that hatchery go up without even trying to put your probe around it. Like Huck is trying to take his Nexus first, which is very good against this, but I mean, I always like to see a little bit of a hatchery block.
Right, even if it's just with the pro for at least a few seconds to catch your opponent a bit off guard. But he is a fan of Nexus First. He does it fairly exclusively. We've seen him pretty much everything he's done in IPL lately. And so this is certainly no surprise. Now, this is Abyssal City. It's the newest map here for IPL. If you've been watching GSL, though, you've obviously seen this plenty of times. It's a very cool map. It can lend itself to pretty decent macro games, especially because you expand away from your opponents. But there's a lot of decent running paths through the middle that you can actually avoid Zelnaga Tower coverage. So much like Daybreak, much like even, I'll say Atlantis Spaceship, but not to the same degree because it's so darn big. You have to have really nice map control, not just with units posted at Zelnaga Towers.
Very true. And Life is sending 2 Lings to the third to kind of be able to have his expansion there when he wants it. Or I guess that's just actually the drone. My bad. And 2 Lings to just kind of scout the front, which is really nice. Sometimes I nitpick players, but these guys are still so amazing. It's interesting because when you look at players who are so amazing, there's still little things they could do to be better.
Yeah. And kind of a curious thing that Huck is doing, he's got 3 pylons up at the front. He's not even reserving one of those back at his main. So I don't know if he accidentally left a little gap up here, and it looks like that's what it is, and he just accidentally misplaced his wall.
That's interesting. Even with that Cyber Core, I'm sure that lets everything through, but it looks like almost like a risky cybernetics core placement, or maybe a stalker doesn't get through, but I'm sure it will. It looks, I'm sure, fine. Just scary from like a Zerg point of view. Sometimes you wonder.
Yeah, I know, but that gap right there is what the stalker will be able to traverse. But anything really, you're talking about immortals or whatever needs to end up crawling through there. As he gets warp gates, though, won't matter so much. But otherwise, you know, 3 base opening for Life. Nothing is out of the ordinary. We'll see when he decides to take his gas.
All right, let's watch. Okay, so he's making his 3rd queen there, right? Because he has his 2nd one walking over. So
right.
That's something, you know, Zerg players want to watch. Let's watch when he throws down the creep tumor first, because that's going to be really important on this map.
Okay.
You think it'll be at the 3rd?
Well, he's already got his queen down here, but he's already started the inject. He's not going to have enough to initially do that. You think he's going to connect those 2 bases first, is what you're saying?
I don't know. I'm curious.
Okay. All right. Well, riddle me this, Batman. What will you do, Life? He's obviously got a lot of energy here. He tries to test the front with a few Zerglings. Of course, Stalker and the Photon Cannon are going to be plenty enough. And wow, this wall just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So many pylons up at the front here.
Huh. Yeah, it looks like
Huck's
just kind of afraid of some sort of all-in here for sure. I think Life showed 8 Zerglings, and that kind of like made him a little bit afraid of it.
And there's your creep tumor.
3rd base.
Yes.
I like it.
Okay. So why do you like that? Why do you like that placement more so than anywhere else?
All right. Well, on this map, you can come in with stalkers in a lot of different places, and if he comes down from below, there's a lot of area that wouldn't be creeped up if he came down straight from the 2nd. But the way this is going to work is he'll at least have a line. Well, he's even spreading more creep, but he'll have at least a line spreading out from his third. So his third's safe, and then if he goes up with one of them to the natural, they'll be connected. So it's like getting all bases covered, and it's pretty nice.
Okay, awesome. So a little bit of insight there. We'll see what Life wants to do to react to the Stargate, which he has seen. He knows it's producing. He knows that there's Phoenixes that are out there too. I think that's his first evolution chamber that's on the way right now, and it's being put up at the back along with his layer tech. Yep,
that was actually a huge mistake, losing those Zerglings there to that Stalker. If you want to think about it, interestingly enough, even 6 Zerglings, if that's what it was, that's the equivalent of 3 drones lost. So right now, Huck is probably ahead by something like 3 drones.
Yeah, and using his little bit of advantage after he's cleared out his opponent to put down a 7-gate Stargate.
This is going to be interesting, man. Let's see if that whole creep spread at the third turns out to actually be pretty important or not.
Okay, so 3-gate Stargate then, or 7-gate Stargate, I'm sorry.
8-gate, I think.
Let's see what he's seen. Did he put up an 8th?
Oh, maybe just 7.
Yeah. But regardless, I mean, still, we're talking about a very, very, very strong 2-base play here. I mean, we see the Spore Crawlers going up. He's teching the Infestation Pit, but what does he have to do now to try and prepare for this?
Alright, well, Life's going for the upgrades, and they're going to be probably a little late. Like that +1 Carapace, +1 melee. It's going to be kind of scary where like it looks like Life's just going straight for pure Zergling into Infestor with this, which is generally safe unless there's an 8-gate. I don't even know does he have a Roach Warren down? That's something you really want to look
Oh, that's
into
actually a good question. I don't think he does. No, he does not.
Alright, so no Roach Warren. He has a bunch of queens. He has actually a bunch of queens that... Oh, he's going to scout. He's going to scout the pylon and a whole bunch of zealots. This is going to be really interesting. And the +1 for Huck is just finishing, and these Zerglings don't have +1 Carapace. They got the pylon, which is really, really good, really exceptional, but there are multiple pylons to the right of it.
Yeah, and he just lost a ton of Overlords. I just want to mention, he's actually completely supply blocked right now and forced to put up 5 Overlords at exactly the moment when these +1 Zealots are starting to move through and just cleave up everything.
Yeah, and like Huck needs, there's the Zealots connecting. This many Zealots, no matter what, Life here cannot be cost effective in killing these, purely because of the +1. Beautiful time.
And look at this, the hatchery's going to fall without so much as a fight, and now Huck's actually gained a pretty good spot for himself, and he cleans out more Zerglings around the side because Life was actually more concerned about getting his drones away. He had sent his Zerglings across the map, but they didn't actually do anything. So now Huck is in a really nice position.
Yep, and if you look at it from a purely, like, how is this game going to go from here? Because I don't think it's going to completely kill Life. He has a bunch of queens, he has a bunch of infestors that are going to pop out, and Huck hasn't really continued on. Like, if you look, there are a bunch of units that are coming in from way far away, but they're just not there right now. So I think from here it's going to be interesting, and the primary thing is going to be how well are the infestors going to live, and how well are the Phoenix going to live.
Well, that was a really nice job to actually form a wall there and stop those Zealots off to the side, but the continued reinforcements are still making their way through. These Phoenixes are still picking off Overlords, so the damage just continues to ramp up, and even though there are Infestors on the way, Life did decide to add on a Roach Warren. He's trying to reestablish his third base, but he's still being attacked at the same time.
Well, Huck has to stop now. The 1-1 is done, and the 2-2 for the Zealots is just now starting. I guess he...
Ooh, nice job actually saving those Infestors. Those could have gone down pretty quick. All right, so Zealots are going to get cleaned up here. You mentioned that Huck needs to turn around, but he's continuing to warp it down at the bottom right. So he's not putting on any additional pressure quite yet, but this is still getting to be a pretty dangerous situation for him.
Yeah, I think he got into the mindset of, oh, I have it, I just have to keep going. But in reality, he had a good position. But he didn't have the whole game. He's still warping in Zealots. They're not. If he gets +2 in time, and then continues on, like he's going for legs, which is actually charged, really interesting. To go from here, I still don't think it's going to be able to crack the nut because Life is now going for roaches. Like he has a feeling, well, with that many Zealots, there's probably not going to be that much tech behind this, and he's right. It's just a whole bunch of Zealots.
Well, the tech that's coming is actually Templar Archives. Why is that? There's 1,700 gas saved up for Huck, so he will be able to morph in about 1,000 Archons whenever the time comes.
Maybe 1,002.
Yes. Yeah, roughly. I mean, I don't have my measurements completely perfect. But
I forgive you.
I'm off by a power of 10 or so. But, you know, with Charge, with his Templar coming in, this is certainly going to be quite a bit of damage output that I'll actually start hitting here. Here we go. The Archon's starting to morph in right now. Now, the issue is, you know, Huck's not expanding behind this. So he's got to make this work. He's got to kill his opponent, and if Life can stabilize once again on 3 bases behind these Infestors, he's going to be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, it's going to come down to this. There are 4 Zealots right here. They don't even get quite an Infestor. It's going to be so tough.
All right, well, the Archons are backing up at the moment. They're just moving back. Oh, it looks like at the same time, there were some Zealots that thought about testing the front, but they decided not to end up going. They're actually just going to rejoin the main army down here at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot of Archons. He's maybe going to get these Roaches if he can get a really nice flank here.
Yeah, well, I mean, these charge lots are certainly going to catch up. They do a lot of damage. They almost pick off 2 Roaches before they're before anything's really done. All right, there's the Infestors now dropping down the first fungal growth. Yeah, the Infestor Terrans are jumping in from behind as well, and he didn't actually attack with all of his Archons at the same time, so he, in essence, just sacrificed his Zealots at the front before his Archons were able to engage.
Yeah, he traded units for energy, which is fine if you're going to keep going, but I don't think he can keep going, even with that many Archons, because they'll just get fungled and outranged.
It is a lot of Archons, though, and the charge lot count is starting to increase once again. Infested Terrans actually end up doing a little bit of damage before they die, so good job by Life not to just sit as Infested Terrans there, but move them out, because, hey, if they catch anything, they're dead anyway. They might as well do something on the way out.
For sure. And, okay, it's really interesting. Life is getting Neural Parasite here. If he had enough energy here, maybe he can, you know, neural some of those Archons, which are amazingly good against Zealots.
And, yeah, no kidding, because basically the only biological unit that sits around in the Protoss army is going to be that Zealot, so we'll see if he's able to pull that off, but Neural Parasite's almost done, and he's still got a fair bit of energy on these Infestors.
Mortals are just now coming up for Huck. I think if you want to look at this, like, Huck has to engage here and do really well. And on the flip side, Life doesn't. Life could sit back and go up for Hive Tech here, and Life is actually going for Banelings. This is such a unique game style from Life to think, okay, I can do this if I make Banelings, and it might be the case.
Isn't this kind of what we expected from these two players, though?
Something unorthodox?
Yeah, unorthodox, a little bit crazy. Life certainly a master at just going for unconventional Zerg builds, and Huck, a player who loves to be very aggressive with his 2-base strategies. And they're not hitting yet. Does he even have any sentries? Okay, he has 1 that I could see, so just 1 force field has dropped down. That's not really going to limit all that much. I guess 2 of them actually from around the side, but the Roaches are able to move up and start hugging those Archons that have actually damaged quite a few units at the back. Banelings making their way up to the front. They've been pretty ineffective so far. They're actually getting caught behind the Roaches and eliminated before they're able to make their way up to the front. But the sheer brunt of initial force of Roaches was able to kill most of the Archons, but Life can't put on any pressure onto the space, but it doesn't matter because he's reinforcing with a million Roaches behind this.
Yeah, that's the thing. If those Immortals were there just a little bit earlier, maybe they could have phased out some of the Roaches from doing so much damage, or even if the force fields were a little bit better. But they just weren't, and I think now Life can just keep putting the pressure on, and I can't see Huck being able to hold from this point.
All right, well, he's certainly going to try, but transferring all of his probes at exactly the wrong time, a lot of those getting picked off. Unfortunately, no fungal growth was available to just lock them down.
Yeah, Life here, like, this is really, really beautiful macro. Yeah, if I said we would, you know, look at Life's play here, and if you look at it, he started off at just getting melee upgrades, and then when he saw that it was really important, he switched right away into getting the ranged upgrades. He knew he'd be going into Roaches and Infested Terran, and so that's when he got those upgrades. And
the other thing is, too, is that, don't forget, Huck launched a successful +1 attack that actually killed his opponent's third and threatened to actually start wrecking his natural. But there was a great hold from Life with 4 queens here, presented a wall and made sure that those Zealots wouldn't be all that effective. And then Life just did not miss an inject after that. Since then, he has just been on top of everything. His creep spread is good. He's moving up to a 4th base. He's got his macro hatch. His upgrades are correct. His tech is correct. Like, Life has just been doing everything right after that initial attack.
For sure, and even the initial attack was done beautifully. Like, he had to, like, from the situation he was in, it was done right as well.
Yeah, I mean, he knew he was going to lose that third, but he was able to rally and hold his natural just perfectly. So now he's going to follow this up with another Roach Baneling Infestor attack. He's allowing those Infestors to regather their energy, and they're pretty much all up on fungal growth, and then a couple of Infested Terrans on top of that.
All right, so the chance Huck has is if he had some Templar and some Storm with this. Instead of quite so many Archons, I think. But he's even moving out here, which is probably not so good.
Oh, and fungal growth locks down the units. The Banelings roll through, and even though they connect units that aren't the best for them, they didn't actually hit the Zealots. It didn't matter. They did their damage right at the very beginning. Fungal growth is being used really effectively here to stop packs of Zealots, so that only a pack comes forward. He kills it with the Roaches. Then the next pack comes forward, and he kills that pretty effectively, too. Huck not able to escape with most of his Archons, and Life pretty solidly taking that fight, too, reinforcing, not really on Tier 3 tech or anything like that, but just pretty good positioning and nice job of using his fungals one after another.
Yeah, force fields here are very good. Huck's doing really, really well with the forces he has, but look at all those Infested Terrans. Free free Infested Terrans that aren't really taking up supply.
Yeah, and they're just going to roll forward now and kind of open up this path for Life to sit on top of this high ground, and now we can start to split the forces out from Huck. Huck has to react to this. He has to run into the Infested Terrans. He's actually going to lose a few of his Zealots before he's able to engage this force, which is already taking down the wall at his natural.
Yep, something you can look at for the future is look how many Infestors Life has. That's going to be 12, 13 Infestors. And this is really, really good against this sort of start with Zealot and into Archon build. Now, if it was against a Colossus build, maybe not so good. And
GG. There we have it. That's game number 1 of this best of 3 in the bag. So congratulations there to